Hell's Kitchen, the worst of New York, all crammed into one district. Some say the devil has cursed it, but now the devil will save it. Starting with Season 1, I believe the first episode is a near perfect setup to a TV show. In just 45 minutes, we get to see who Matt Murdock is, some idea of what his abilities are, who the important characters in Matt's life are, and setting up our main antagonist. This may seem like a lot for just the pilot, but the show balances it pretty well. Right off the bat, the acting is/will be good for the rest of the show. Matt's opening monologue is performed really well by Charlie Cox, and he really embodies the character of Matt Murdock. I also think it's interesting how the show will sometimes never explicitly say things. It's up to the viewer to pick up on the subtext. Two examples are, in episode 1, we see a few times with the screen getting a little fuzzy and we hear heartbeat noise begin to play. The audience is never told straight up that Matt is seeing if Karen is lying or not, but from the sound design and cinematography, we can infer that that's what he's doing. Another example of this is in episode 2, where Matt can smell a gangster's cologne from a floor away. Also in the second episode, we see more of Matt and his dad's relationship. We see Matt before he loses his sight, and their dynamic before his dad is killed. This helps build Matt's character, as we get a semblance of why he fights crime that will be expanded upon later. Matt then meets Claire Temple, who serves as a medic for him throughout this season. Also in episode 2 is the scene. The scene that showed the world that this wasn't just your average superhero show/crime drama. The hallway fight. This may sound underwhelming, but this was the thing that propelled the show into the mainstream audience. The music starts, slow and methodical. Matt surveilling his surroundings. How many men are there? How is he going to fight them? The music picks up, and we're off. Matt is beaten and bruised, but he keeps going, hardly being able to stand by the end of the brawl. Matt then gains the moniker, the Devil of Hell's Kitchen, as people have taken a notice to a vigilante running around Hell's Kitchen. As the season goes on, there's a couple more references to Fisk, and finally, we see him, and he's being awkward. He's struggling to flirt with a girl at an art gallery. Not what you'd expect after hearing all the atrocities he's committed, is it? Soon enough, this facade fades. Wilson Fisk is one of the more interesting characters on the whole show, and we'll learn more about his past later. He then goes on a date with the girl from the gallery, Vanessa. One of his business associates bursts in, however, which makes Fisk leave abruptly. The show then cuts to that same guy in a car when Fisk yanks him out. This is when we see how truly brutal this man can be. The gangster tries to fight back, but it's futile. Fisk snarls and growls like an animal until asked why he's doing this, to which he replies, "You embarrassed me in front of her, like a child." He has this aloof yet disarming nature with Vanessa, but that's gone now. He rests the man's head in between the car door and the car itself, and slams it, and slams it, and slams it, over and over until finally it shuts. With this one scene, we see how this man could be a real threat to not only Matt, but to all of Hell's Kitchen. A few more auxiliary characters are introduced, one of which is Marcy, Foggy's ex, and Wesley, Fisk's right-hand man. The most important of them being Ben Urich, an investigative journalist that is vital to taking down Fisk. He also kickstarts Karen's arc of becoming a journalist herself. Subsequently, he has some of the best lines in the whole show. In this episode, his wife is shown in that she has some sort of brain condition. Then, more of Matt's past is revealed. Stick, his former teacher, is introduced and gives some nice foreshadowing for the events of Season 2. One of Matt and Foggy's clients/friends is killed, and Matt has had it. He combs through the underbelly of Hell's Kitchen, attempting to find Fisk. He doesn't find him, however, he does find another opponent. He ultimately wins the fight, even if he's half dead by the end of it, when Fisk shows up again. Matt is barely able to escape after he notices Fisk's lightweight body armor. He is able to crawl back into his apartment where Foggy is there trying to get in. He hears a crash and thinks Matt may be getting robbed or hurt. When he gets in, however, he finds Matt, beaten, bloody, and half dead. He takes off the mask and learns that Matt is the Devil of Hell's Kitchen. Karen and Ben then go to meet Fisk's mom, where they learn he killed his abusive father and his mom helped him cover it up. Ben is concerned someone will find out and hunt them down. The next episode is one of the best in the whole series. Foggy is understandably enraged at Matt, But not just because he's a vigilante. They're lawyers. They uphold the law and defend it, while Matt has been breaking it on a daily basis. He also learns of Matt's abilities and gets even more angry when he learns he's not technically blind. We also get to see some of their past. When they first met, the lighting was warm, two friends making a genuine connection. They could talk for hours about anything and everything. But now it's cold, tense. These friends can barely look at each other now, let alone hold a long conversation. The firm of Nelson and Murdoch, at least for now, is over. Near the end of the episode, Wesley, Fisk's right-hand man if you forgot, has learned Karen went to see Fisk's mom. In the meantime, Matt goes to the man that makes Fisk's armored suits, whose name is Melvin. Matt convinces Melvin to make him a suit, but we don't get to see what that is just yet. Karen is on her way home when this next scene with Wesley and Karen is really good. There's no music, no outside sounds, just the two of them, a gun on the table, and a lingering threat of death. The performances in this scene are also great, and there's more foreshadowing to Karen's past that we won't get until third season. Fisk calls Wesley, and Karen snatches the gun. Now, the music picks up, loud and beating. He claims she won't do it, but Fisk finds his body, and he's not angry like you might expect. Not yet, at least. No, he's sad, devastated, heartbroken. His only friend, one of the three people he cares about, is gone. This scene is another great performance by Vincent D'Onofrio. Back to Karen. She can barely handle what just happened, having nightmares and being extra paranoid now. There's another scene of Ben with his wife, and he then walks home. But when he enters, it's dead silent. Every sound feels 10 times louder. Every shot feels like something could leap from the shadows. Something is wrong. He sits down and begins to write. The feeling of pure panic, bewilderment, and fear hits Ben immediately. They have a surprisingly civil conversation about integrity and honor until Fisk brings up his mom. And at this moment, Ben's fate is sealed. Fisk leaps out of his chair, going to strangle him. And just like that, it's done. No long death scene, barely any music. Quick burst of pure, unbridled rage from Fisk, and it's over. Now, before I get to the season 1 finale, I'd like to talk about some flaws in this season. While I believe there are very few, no show is perfect. First of all, Vanessa is way too quick to go along and be okay with Fisk killing people. I also think Karen pretty much got Ben killed by taking him to meet Fisk's mom unknowingly. Well, with that out of the way, here's the finale. We open at Ben's funeral, and it's looking pretty bad. Everyone's distraught, most of all Karen, of course. Our main trio reconcile, finding enough evidence to finally put Fisk behind bars. Matt doesn't buy it, though. Fisk has half the force on his payroll, so he leaves to find and take down Fisk. This is when he finally gets the suit. It's finally time to
let the devil out.
Fisk escapes easily, but Matt is hot on his trail. He takes out the truck Fisk is in, and our first good look at the suit is shown. Now Matt's theme is more heroic and orchestral, no longer the dark melody of a vigilante, but the bombastic anthem of a hero. Fisk attempts to run, but it's hopeless. Matt catches up quickly, and the final battle begins. Two bloody, broken men fighting for the soul of Hell's Kitchen. An interesting parallel to the end of this season and the end of Season 3 is that, in this season, Fisk goes down to Matt's level, descending into hell and leaving his heaven of wealth and corruption. It's a pretty brutal fight, but Matt manages to take him down. He steps back, gaining his composure, when sirens start to sound. Just when it looks like he might be caught, the cop steps out, and he lets Matt go. Matt is officially deemed Daredevil by the public, and with our trio back together and Fisk taken down, Matt is not just a vigilante or the devil of Hell's Kitchen. He is Daredevil.